Voice architects like Tom Calma and Marcia Langton, who think the No campaign has tapped into a deep well of racism, could not be further from the truth. The implicit condescending demonisation of their fellow Australians as racist is not just offensive, it is the primal scream from the death throes of the radical left's latest attempts to transform our nation in its own image. Mainstream Australians struggling with a cost of living crisis that has been caused largely by the political class's misguided net zero policies are repulsed because never have they felt more goodwill and affection towards Indigenous Australians. Voice architect Noel Pearson could not be more wrong when he says there is no plan B for Indigenous disadvantage if the Voice referendum is lost. His vision of more power, only this time locked into the Constitution, this is more power for the Aboriginal industry, which has already had a seat at the table for decades as billions of dollars have been thrown at failed schemes, has been rejected in favour of something more attractive. Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, the main face of the No campaign, has offered a vision of national unity between black and white, accountability for spending, and a focus on need and not race. This is a far more compelling, unifying vision, and it comes without rancour towards her fellow Australians. Now, while not denying the past, her relatives narrowly escaped the last massacre in the Northern Territory, Price acknowledges the benefits of colonialism and is honest about the negative aspects of Aboriginal culture, which are hurting women and children and which have nothing to do with colonialism. Now, this doesn't suit the narrative of the cultural left, which has wrongly diagnosed the problem of Indigenous disadvantage as intergenerational trauma caused by colonisation, and the radical left holds a romanticised view of Indigenous culture. It is, of course, a mistake to romanticise either colonisation or Indigenous culture, but the inconvenient truth that Price and her fellow No campaigner Warren Mundine point out is, of course, that scores of Indigenous people are doing very well. Opportunity abounds, unlike the lie at the heart of the latest Yes ad, which features a little boy saying only yes will make it possible for him to have a bright future. Rodney Rivers, a proud Aboriginal man who grew up in the Kimberley of Western Australia, last week told me on ADH TV that when he was growing up in the 50s, there were opportunities that led him to good jobs in forestry and earth moving. His sons are today successful Indigenous men, one of whom is a medical researcher. The other lie is that the Voice is a modest proposal, as the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the Yes 23 campaign keep saying. Adding a new chapter in the Constitution to create a new institution on the same level as the Parliament and the judiciary is not modest. But the Yes campaign are not on the same page when it comes to this, and they're confusing Australians and turning mainstream people against the Voice. For instance, Voice proponents Megan Davis and George Williams, of course Williams is a constitutional lawyer, so Davis and Williams say this. They say the Voice to Parliament is a structural reform. It is a change to the structure of Australia's public institutions and would redistribute public power via the Constitution, Australia's highest law. Now, there's nothing modest about that, but we're told to vote on the vibe. Now, the solution to disadvantage offered by Price and Mundine is one that transcends race and focuses on need. Dysfunction is not a function of racism, but of abuse, neglect, and geography, Price and Mundine say. But those pushing the Voice reject this and say dysfunction is a result of intergenerational trauma caused by colonisation and the latent racism of Australians. They continue to claim sovereignty and want this recognised, creating a nation within a nation. Now, since the dawn of time, people groups have moved across the surface of planet Earth. This is something Price and Mundine recognise as they promote a vision of national unity which includes everyone, whether they have been here for 60,000 years or for 6 months. No wonder our migrant communities are repulsed by the race-based politics of the Voice. Our status as Australians in the rule book of the nation should not depend on who got here when. Equality under the law, regardless of race, is what has made Australia and other Western nations great. A great nation has been forged on this continent. A yes vote entrenches the supposed illegitimacy of Australia and the perpetuation of Indigenous victimhood motivated by desire for revenge. In contrast, a no vote unites us all around a common humanity and the deep reservoir of goodwill towards Indigenous people that yearns to find ways that work to help those in need.